welcome back. Now, pelvic muscle restoration is a comprehensive treatment for pelvic floor dysfunction, starting with systematically evaluating symptoms and contributing factors. Now, the pelvic bones hold the major organs in your pelvis in place and protect them. To give us more details on the therapeutic modalities of pelvic muscle rehabilitation, I'm now joined by Dr. Annie Fungai-Muyocha, specialist obstetrician, gynecologist. Doctor, good evening and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Good.
Talk to us, Doctor, first of all, or explain to us, what happens to the pelvic floor during pregnancy and during birth.
Okay, so to start with, I'll explain what the pelvic floor is. So you had rightly explained that there's the pelvic bones, which are like the circle around our pelvic organs, and that's just the bone structure.
Yeah.
And then below that, we've got like a basin of a muscle that slings from the front to the back, and it's literally holding up your pelvic organs. And there will be a couple of holes in women. There's 3 of them where your urethra comes in from the bladder to the external. Your vagina goes through there, the junction between the cervix and the vagina goes through there. And then at the back, we've got the rectum going to become the anus.
Right.
So the function of this muscle, it's actually a group of muscles, is to not only provide this basin which holds up our pelvic organs and therefore closing up our bottom part, but also to allow the control of your urethra in front. So that's what contributes to your control of urine and also your control of passing your poo as well as wind,
Right.
so to speak. So that's the purpose of the pelvic floor muscles. Yes.
And so this weakens when you've pregnant and giving birth, and
Yes.
how does that happen?
So essentially, because it's a muscle, and this is one of our muscles which works the most in our whole body because it's constantly contracted. Your other muscles all over your body, they will contract and relax depending on the activities that you're doing. At some point it relaxes, but for the pelvic floor, it literally has to hold up the weight of your abdominal and pelvic organs. So it's constantly in a contraction mode. And as you get pregnant, or if you've got any other masses within your abdomen, so say women who've got an enlarged uterus from fibroids, or if you've got like an ovarian cyst, any
Right.
mass within your abdomen or pelvis is going to weaken the muscle because it's constantly putting an extra pressure and weight on these muscles. So when we are pregnant, that weight continues to put pressure on this muscle, and at some point it will tire. So of course, after the delivery, because the weight has gone off, you are supposed to rehabilitate your muscle, and naturally it might recover a little bit, but we need to actively work towards strengthening that muscle again. And this is even more important for women who've got more than one child, women who've had normal deliveries, women who are also smokers, and women who are obese have to make a bit of extra effort to strengthen that muscle, because like I said, it controls your passage of urine and your passage of the poo and the flatus, and also just holding up those muscles.
It's interesting because, of course, pre-pregnancy, you wouldn't think to exercise this muscle to keep it healthy and strong. So now post-pregnancy, you're going to have to do that. So how do you begin to restore the strength of this muscle, doctor?
So you don't actually have to wait for the postpartum, like after you've delivered your baby.
Right.
You can actually start working on it while you're pregnant, or even when you're not even planning on being pregnant, because even just by aging, you can get weakening of your muscles, just like your other muscles everywhere else on your body, and your connective tissue is going to weaken at some point with age. The same happens with your pelvic floor. So it's encouraged actually that women of all ages, whether you're pregnant or not, but more importantly, when you've had a pregnancy, it's important to do those exercises that are aimed at strengthening this muscle. Because with time, as it weakens, the problem is you will start losing control of your pee. So you start, you laugh or you cough and a little bit of pee comes out.
A lot of pregnant women will tell you that story.
About that, and that can go on for a few weeks or months after the pregnancy, and it can also come later on as you grow older, in your 40s, in your 50s. It can start to be a problem as well. So you want to control that and to strengthen the muscle so that even the passage of poo is something that you can continue to control. And another thing, because of the support. The lack of that support means your pelvic organs can start to slip out. So when, as women, that's what we would call a pelvic organ prolapse, where you start to feel there's a mass coming down into your vagina or even outside. So it's a function of a weak pelvic floor.
Yeah. So how do you strengthen and restore your pelvic muscle? Is Kegels one of the ways you would do that?
Yes, that's actually one of the best ways to strengthen your pelvic floor, and to identify that. The trick really is in identifying the muscle that you're trying to strengthen, because what people get wrong sometimes is they tense their abdominal muscles or their buttock muscles, and not the pelvic floor itself. So for you to identify the muscle, you want to go to the toilet and pee. Halfway through your pee, try and hold that to stop the pee from coming. That motion of what you do to stop your pee from coming out, that's the pelvic floor exercise. That's the Kegel that we're talking about. So if you're able to do that motion, then you're going to be strengthening your muscles. So we are not going to continue to do it when we are peeing. We just use that example for you to be able to identify the specific muscle. So if you're tensing your abdominal muscles or tensing your gluteal or buttock muscles, you're actually not doing the right thing. Yeah, so you want to learn to identify the muscle. And now when you know the muscle and the action that's supposed to be done, you can just randomly be doing it. And what's actually advised is that you go through it just randomly throughout the day. Hold it for as long as you can. So when you're just starting out, maybe the longest you can go is 2 or 3 seconds, and then it's too much, and then you have to let go. So with time, you're going to be able to hold it for longer. So it's recommended that you do 3 reps of it 10 to 15 times when you hold it, and then you let go for like 5 to 10 seconds, hold it again for as long as you can, then you let go. So if you do 3 reps of that 3 times a day, then you should have a very healthy and strong pelvic muscle, which is going to last you throughout your life without these problems with the pee and the poo and the pelvic organ prolapse. Yeah, and you can do this safely throughout the pregnancy. When you're not pregnant, at any age, you can actually start doing these exercises, and it's never too late to start. Just like any other exercise, the more you do it, the better you're at it. Yeah.
And you mentioned, of course, you don't have to wait until you're pregnant to actually have, an issue with this to begin training, exercising this muscle. But I want to know if, like the average woman, you haven't done any exercises pre-baby, you've now had baby, how soon after birth can you start this? Because everything hurts, whether you've given natural birth or C-section, it hurts. So how long can you wait, or should you wait before you start these exercises?
So as soon as you're comfortable to start your exercises, you can immediately start. We know with normal delivery, you're going to heal faster. So if you haven't had stitches in the vagina, like say you had a tear or they had to make a cut, then you can start earlier. Women who've had a C-section, it might take a few more days or a couple of weeks before you're ready to start. So whenever you feel your body is actually ready, good to go, then it's fine. So it's never too late or too early to start. It's more about your comfort level, and you don't need to do it as often or as long. It's about how comfortable you are. And just while I'm on that point, there's also tools that people use, or they're marketed as you need to get this to get your Kegels right. It's actually not necessary to use the cones, or there's also what we call biofeedback devices, which tell you how strong of a pull you've had on the muscle. So it's something you put inside the vagina, and then it can measure the pressure that you've achieved. So when you go to a physiotherapist, they might use that on you to see the build up in the strength of that muscle, but you don't actually need to use it. Studies have been done on this. Do we need to use the cones? Do we need to use the vaginal weights? Do we need to use the biofeedback devices? Not necessarily. The important thing is for you to actually do them, and do them consistently. So throughout your life, just working on it randomly as you're going through your day, you can be doing your Kegels.
I'm not sure if you're familiar, you might be, doctor, with of course other treatments such as ultrasound treatment and yoni steaming, etc., etc. Do those actually work as well?
So yes, there are certain things that can help with rejuvenating the vagina itself, like sensation-wise, and just bulking it up and making it a bit tighter. But that's different from strengthening the pelvic floor. This is a muscle. The only way to strengthen the muscle is to exercise it, like any other muscle. So yes, the yoni steaming and thermal or laser therapies, they do have their benefits for rejuvenating the vagina itself. after childbirth, but not so much for pelvic floor muscle training.
Fantastic. Well, Dr. Annie, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you for educating us.
My greatest pleasure.
That was Dr. Annie Fungai Muyocha speaking to us there in our health segment this evening. Well, we've come to the end of the program. We leave you with a little bit of entertainment on this Monday evening. And we'll be back, of course, tomorrow, same time and place. Good night and thank you for watching.